Help, I'm a prisoner in the library, Chapter 8. When the banshee cries. I want to go home, JoBeth wailed when she could speak again. I don't like it here. This place is haunted. Mary Rose nodded. That ghostly movement of papers was frightening. She wished there was some place they could hide until daylight came. The basement door, Miss Fenton exclaimed. It must have blown open somehow. She took the candlestick away from JoBeth. You girls can stay here or come with me. I'm going to investigate. The girls rushed to her side as she began to leave the room. They felt that if they looked back, they would see the figures in the kid hack turning to stare after them. Anything was better than that. She's awfully bossy, JoBeth whispered to her sister. I bet she doesn't even like kids. I don't like children who handle displays or take things that don't belong to them, Miss Fenton snapped. Or children who called her bossy either, JoBeth thought, sighing. Miss Fenton led them directly to the basement door, which was swinging back and forth. Ghosts, Miss Fenton muttered. She examined the door. The lock doesn't even catch. I'll have to have it fixed. It's so cold. Mary Rose shivered. Why is it so cold? A stream of chilly air was coming up from the basement. There must be a window open down there. Come along, girls, come along, she repeated as the girls held back. We'll need the light from both candles. Miss Fenton was already on her way down the steps, walking very carefully. Mary Rose followed, holding one hand in front of the candle to keep it from blowing out. That meant JoBeth had to walk last again. She wished there was some way she could go down the steps backward. It would be better to look into the darkness, rather than have it creep up behind her. They were almost at the bottom of the stairway when Miss Fenton said, I hear a cat. That's not a cat, JoBeth said in a faint voice. It's a banshee. A what? Mary Rose cried. A banshee. JoBeth nodded her head. She had just finished reading a book of Irish fairy tales. Don't you even know what a banshee is? That's a spirit that cries under a window. When the banshee cries like that, it means someone is going to die. The candle trembled in Mary Rose's hand. You just quit it, JoBeth. You just quit it right now. You're only trying to scare me. There are no banshees in this house. Miss Fenton's voice was firm. One look at her face, and the girls could see that Miss Fenton wouldn't allow such a thing in her library. I declare, I've never met anyone as jumpy as you. Everything has a perfectly reasonable explanation. You should try to control your imagination, young lady. Miss Fenton's head had begun to throb again, and her swollen wrist ached. She was sorry she had snapped at JoBeth, that everything seemed to be out of control. Vilmore Fenton didn't like things to be out of control. It was unsettling. It's this spooky old house. It's worse than the wax museum, and I thought that was scary. I wouldn't be afraid to go there now, not after being here. The very idea, Miss Fenton was insulted. This happens to be a lovely old house. Don't mind my sister, Mary Rose was trying to soothe the librarian's feelings, but Miss Fenton's only reply was, watch this last step, it's broken. She held her candle high so the girls could see the step. They could also peer at the basement, which seemed to go on and on until it vanished into darkness. Why is everything so big in this house? JoBeth complained. It was the way Grandfather Fenton built. Ooh! JoBeth had just bumped against her bandaged wrist. For a moment, Miss Fenton felt so sick from the pain that she almost dropped the candle. There it goes again! JoBeth ran back up a few steps and stopped. Mary Rose shivered. She could feel icy air all around her. Could JoBeth be right? Was there such a thing as a banshee? Look, Miss Fenton was pointing at a window high up on the wall of the basement. There's your banshee. Oh, the poor little thing. Look, JoBeth, it is a cat, and he's half in and half out of the window. He must have tried to get in out of the blizzard, and the window closed down on him. Oh, the poor thing, no wonder he's crying. And that accounts for the air that moved the papers around upstairs, Miss Fenton added. And that's what I mean about too much imagination. JoBeth was quiet. It's easy to be smart after you know the facts, she thought. But Mary Rose had been scared too, she was sure. And Miss Fenton must have been scared as well, even if she pretended otherwise. There's a ladder behind the steps, Mary Rose. You and JoBeth pull it over to the window, and be careful when you reach for the cat, and pull the window shut and lock it. Miss Fenton was still giving advice when Mary Rose climbed the ladder. She pushed at the window and pulled the cat free. As she carried the shivering animal down, she murmured softly in its ear, She handed the cat to Jo Beth, who cuddled against her body to warm it. "You and your banshees," Mary Rose said after she locked the window and came down. "You almost had me believing you." Jo Beth ran her hand over the cat's fur. "It could have been a banshee," she told herself stubbornly. "In a house like this, anything was possible." And she kept her thoughts to herself.